Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you, choir. Thank you, everybody. So a number of people have come before me to help create the atmosphere, the consciousness through which this little boy can show up. I do intend to. The theme for the month is divine energy, right? Can I say it with me tonight? Divine energy once more. Divine energy once more. Divine energy. Now let us sense. That divine energy. Wikipedia says, energetic healing is the conscious and skilled use of the therapeutic modalities to benefit a person on subtle and emotional levels. Subtle, he's talking about this energy, describing it is this subtle and emotional, on subtle and emotional levels. I want to talk about these subtle and emotional levels that we are right now experiencing this divine energy. I'm going to use the topic mental atmospheres. And it says, as well as in your general and physical well-being. Well, it goes on to say in another area, it says prana is the Sanskrit word for life force. Life force that comprises all cosmic energy permeating the universe on all levels. Ernest Holmes has a reading here from the 1926 edition of the Science of Mind textbook. And in there, he talks about experiences in this universe, in this substance called God, in a way that is a little bit different than is, that shows up in the revised Science of Mind textbook that was revised many years later, the current one that we use. Because he gets a little bit more raw with it. He does, and so they had to make it acceptable more to the general public during his advanced consciousness. He says each person has a mental atmosphere. Now I want to start off with you have it in your program that I'm reading from, and if you look at it, he says, it's not that I think that you don't know how to read. And I hope I don't offend you when I'm reading to you. But what I must say is that I am teaching you how to read. You know, when you go to a lawyer, you give them a document to read for you. It doesn't mean that you don't know how to read, but you're acknowledging that you don't because you give it to him or her to read. Then after they read it, they can surprise you by saying, well, I'm sorry to say. And you didn't know that until they read it and interpreted it for you. The Bible is a book of laws. And it takes a good lawyer sometimes to read it and then interpret and tell you what it said. So that's what I'm is. Just a good Bible lawyer, spiritual lawyer. Ernest Holmes was far more superior than I. And this is what he has done. In this reading that I'm sharing with you, this spiritual lawyer is interpreting New Testament scripture, same as Quimby did. Now with Quimby, who predated him, the father of metaphysics, was healed of more than one incurable condition and trained many others who were healed by reading his lessons and studying under him. Along with him, wrote many books and formed different religious denominations. But they were doing the same thing. Quimby was not a Bible scholar, but he started reading the Bible after his many personal experiences, and then said himself, I have discovered new. Everything that I am sharing with you, Jesus had already practiced and taught, and that's what the New Testament is all about, he said. So he said, each person has a mental atmosphere. Now, in reading this, he starts with each person. Everybody has a mental atmosphere, and further on, he's going to help you to understand why it is that we have to accept some people as they are. Then you understand the serenity prayer. God grant me to stop acting a fool. God grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference, because each person has a mental atmosphere, which is the result of all that he has thought, said, done, and consciously or unconsciously perceived. This mental atmosphere is very real and is that subtle influence which constitutes the power of personal attraction. We all have that power of personal attraction. We are always attracting. Am I right? Right. And so we here teach the law of mind, the science of mind, to help you to attract those things that are good and to stop attracting those things that are not good. But we also have to accept other people's right to continue to accept what they are attracting and not let it continue to take you to an early grave because you don't like what they're attracting and they're holding on to it and don't want to change. All right. This mental atmosphere is very real and is that subtle influence which constitutes the power of personal attraction. For personal attraction has but little to do with what? Looks. It goes much deeper and is almost entirely subjective. Now that word subjective is important, so I'm teaching you how to read. Understand that subjective means it's personal. See, you overlook the word subjective and keep on going. But the lawyer says, let's look at this word subjective. Subjective means independent, it means individual, it means distinctive. In other words, when the child brings home, I'm in love. And you go, oh my God. What? Don't bring him back here. No, he can't come here. Then they end up being married and you got little. Am I right? No. You said didn't do that. It's an odd, you see odd couples, you see this lady with this man, you say, Lord have mercy. What does she see in him? Well, how did he attract her? Has nothing to do with looks. It has nothing to do with looks. It's subjective. It's personal. Aretha Franklin, the prophet, said, prophetess, she said, what you do to me? And then somebody said, all you did was call my name. Am I right? It's subjective, it's individual. I remember growing up, my mother, there's two of us, me and my sister. But in her early teen years, my mother's always angry about the girls, her friends. And she called them those old girls. You know, she just didn't want to be with any of them. And I would always say, well, what about your daughter? See, we do that, but we have to realize that that is a strong positive and not necessarily a strong negative, because it gives you an early insight on what you need to start working on in your child, because we're dealing with the power of attraction. But we don't want to see that. We want to overlook that and point at the bad kids that they're with, the ones that you don't like, but there's something called the power of attraction. And like attracts like, and those that are not like, that are unlike, repel. All right, let's move on. I find that people who come into this teaching too often don't understand what it's really all about, even all the way to becoming a practitioner, even all the way to become a minister, because you see it in ministers too. They deal with this as though they're learning how to use magic. Magic, you'll pull a rabbit out of the hat. Close your eyes and we're going to do this, start praying, and something's going to appear. And just because you're talking this stuff, that it's going to work. Am I right? You know, looking spiritual, acting spiritual, that's not it. Because see, what we're dealing with here is that you don't get something for nothing. You're going to pray because you have some favor with God and you know how to put words together and something's going to pop out of the hat. No. You have to do something. You have to do something. And this doing is spiritual. But we want to do this stuff that is spiritual. We want something for nothing. It goes deeper than that. We want something from nothing. Not only something for nothing, but something from nothing. Well, the law of physics is equal to the law of metaphysics. We say all the time, don't we? Yeah. Two things can occupy the same place at the same time. And equal to metaphysics, two thought systems can occupy the same space at the same time. In other words, you change your mind, you change your life. We don't want to change our mind. We just want to change our life. You got to give up the thoughts that have created a mental atmosphere. There's something in the mental atmosphere, which is your energy, which is your divine energy, which is your spiritual energy, that you live, move, and have your being in. There's some work to be done in that. And until you do the work that needs to be done in that, you can't get the rabbit out of the hat. I just need that. You got to do something. You have to work on changing the mind, which changes the consciousness, which changes the divine energy field that is all around you, that Ernest Holmes is calling mental atmospheres. You're always radiating and emanating, and what you're radiating and exuding and emanating is drawing back to you in kind. So that's where sickness comes from. That's where poverty comes from. That's where bad relationships come from. That's where ain't got enough and worry and all of that stuff comes from. But when you send out, that's what comes back. Ernest Holmes says this. Now, before I go back to the reading here, what I want to really, what the Lord is trying to do here for you today is free you, free myself from whatever it is that's blocking my prayer demonstration, blocking the answer, holding me back. It's mental atmospheres. Mental atmospheres. What is sabotaging my prayer life, my prayer success? What is something that is recurring? Thoughts that are recurring in my mind. Memories. 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 That's what this man is talking about. You see, and we can change those memories without even knowing what the memories are. How can you know? Some of them are from lives back. So how can you know? Some of them are from childhood experiences. How can you know? You don't need to know. What you need to know is that you can change your mental atmosphere now. This, Ernest Holmes goes on to say, this will explain the likes and dislikes for those with whom we come in daily contact. We meet some only to turn away without a word, while others we are at once drawn toward, and without any apparent reason. This is the result of their mental atmosphere or thought vibration. Did you see where he said it's the result of their? This is the result of their mental atmosphere or thought vibration. What was he talking about? He said, we meet some. This will explain the likes and dislikes for those with whom we come in daily contact. We need some there. We need some only to turn away without a word, while others we are at once drawn toward without any apparent reason. This is the result of their mental atmosphere or thought vibration. When you're in your right spiritual mental vibration, they will find you. They got your stuff in their hands. Because each person has a distinct, unique mental atmosphere. So you don't have to go to the club. You don't have to go online. You can just be at the stoplight and say, pull over. There you go. Do you hear what I'm saying? Oh, yeah. I remember. I think I was about 18. I was at a pharmacy. And I walked up to this girl and I said, do you intend to mail that card to me, or do you, or do you want to just give it to me now? And it worked. Mental atmosphere, the law of attraction. You don't need to go shopping for a car. I've never done that. You just get this piece of gold and you just take it to the right. There it is, right there. Yeah. The car has a mental atmosphere. It has everything is energy, you know, and there's life in everything. Mental atmosphere. You get the right mental atmosphere and the right thoughts in your mind about healing and whatever, oh my God, I say this in every message. You go to the doctor, and that doctor's whole consciousness has said, but it's got to be the right doctor. Mm-hmm. You can set it up. That the right doctor is put in your path with the right mental atmosphere to meet your need. I remember a story. Yeah, in my, I have a book called Spiritual Mind Treatment. I see two people here don't have it. Everybody else does. It's in the bookstore. It's in the bookstore. And I have stories, demonstrations I don't know if this was in there, but there is this lady who, when I was doing the practitioner work, that I don't do one-on-one anymore, but I used to be very, very busy doing that. And this one woman I was working with, she was in the workshop, and she was a senior. She was an elder. And she was in what's called the Holy Kabbalah. You've heard Kabbalah? Kabbalah. Yeah. And, but she was in our workshop. She was enjoying it with me and Juanita. And she was legally blind. She had cane, and she could functionally get around, but with much help. And she was going to USC. I told this story before. What's the eye clinic called out there? Down. And she had been there many times. This one time, she was doing work. Though. See, you don't get something from nothing. You don't get something for nothing. She was working on herself. She was doing her spiritual work. She was changing her spiritual energy. She was changing her mental atmosphere. But on this particular day, I took her to the doctor, and I saw something. Her doctor, the chief of the department, just happened to come in, reviewing and reading her chart, turned and admonished this doctor to give this woman sight, as if he was kind of disturbed about something. They talked their lingo and about procedure, whatever. Shortly after that, the woman conceived just as good as you and me. Yeah. Do you see what I'm talking about? Yeah. Everything has to do with your mental atmosphere. The power of personal attraction. You can attract, you are attracting to you right now your tomorrow. You are attracting to you right now the outworking and the demonstration of that prayer request, whatever you're working on. So we have to make sure that our mindset is right. Yeah. It is done unto you as you believe. Your belief is always inward. Your belief is always working. So he says here, no matter what the lips may be saying. So it's not about what you're saying. It's about what you're feeling. Neville, the writer, says, feeling is the secret. Your mental atmosphere right now, whatever you're radiating, whatever you're glowing, whatever is flowing out of you, is coming out of your feeling about whatever it is. And you're the only one who can control that feeling about whatever. No matter what the lips may be saying, the inner thought outspeaks them. And the unspoken word often carries more weight than the spoken. As Emerson said, what you are speaks so loudly that I cannot hear what you say. He goes on to say, children feel mental atmospheres very keenly and are drawn to those who are inwardly right, shunning those who are inwardly wrong. It has been said that people whom children and dogs do not like are dangerous. Mental atmospheres. Animals are almost entirely subjective and feel mental atmospheres more keenly do most people, more keenly than most people. Now, I've never been an animal lover. So when I come to your house, I just take that deep breath. I'm just catching them, you know. I'll be out here in a minute. So they're jumping all over me. All over my legs and everywhere, you know. I'm just trying to do a thing here. But there are some that they run from. They just won't come around. And I know that you, when your children are little, you always go over there and hug her. Give her a hug. And they're just back. Am I right? You can't push them. That's your cousin now. Then you come home with a stranger and they just all of them want to follow them to the car. Am I right? They just love that person. They've never met them. but they're clinging to them mental atmospheres. So what we need to do is stop and look at ourselves. Just think about it a bit. Who are we repelling? Now we want to attract, but people want to come close to us. We're always alone and wonder why. We want friends, but nobody wants to be friends till you will leave after 3 days. Personal atmospheres vary in their intensity. There being as many verities as there are people, for each creates his own atmosphere in mind, which means mind can change. Change your mind, change your life. Truly did the great Emerson say, if you want a friend, what? Be one. If one wishes to have friends, he should become friendly. If he wishes love, he should learn to love. So when somebody finally comes to go out to lunch with you, shut up. Because what's coming out of your mouth says we won't be going out again. You're going to sit there and talk about problems. You're going to sit there and talk about your thoughts and your opinions and sharing this and who said this and what I think of this person. That's mental. I'm there saying, well, I guess I'm going to be going out with this one again. People want upbeat, they want uplifting, they want positivity, and they want positive energy, lightness. Not the shadows and darkness. It's not a time for therapy. Am I right? There is no excuse for anyone being without a power of attraction, since it is a mental quality and may be consciously induced through right practice. Need to reread it. There's no excuse for anyone being without a power of attraction, since it is a mental quality. A mental quality can be achieved, it can be built, you can build a mental quality, and it may be consciously induced, see right there, through right practice. That's what our teaching is about. People have come into this teaching one way, and a year later, oh Lord have mercy, I'm glad I found this teaching. I'm glad I found this church. I'm glad I found this group. I love these people. But when you walk in here, don't you feel an energy? Don't you, like, no matter what you're coming from, but if you can just get here, your whole energy changes. That's because of the energy fields of those who are walking in here. Am I right? Yes. It is possible at times, let's go back to, this is very important, to kind of like go into those memories. It is possible at times for a psychic to tell one most of the incidents that have happened in his life. I mean, believe that. Only one. Okay. This is done by entering the subjective realm of the individual and reading the thoughts and mental pictures that are hung on the wall of his memory. I'm here to help you to understand that some of the challenges that we are experiencing in life and lack of healing, blocked demonstrations, and experiences in life are rooted in those memories that are affecting our present mental atmosphere. We are always in mental contact with our friends on the subjective side of life. There's that subjective side of life, and a psychic tuning in on these vibrations reads the thoughts that come over the mental wireless. See, the mental wireless was not created by Zuckerberg and Appleman and all of those people. Steve Jobs, the mental wireless. And the www, dot, World Wide Web, and the internet. We just say, ooh, the internet. The internet was before time was. The internet has always been here. See, wireless communication means exactly that. We're walking through a field of energy through which we are communicating this divine intelligence. But it is not only now, but from what we call in human expression, the past, which is there is no past, there's only the now. And that understanding helps us to understand that now is now. See, that's reading. Now is now. There is no past, present, and future. Those who were are here in the now. And when we leave from here, we will still be in the now as we are now. That means that all that has happened in the past exists now on the walls of memory. And we can still be subject to the experiences, to the emotions of those things from the past. I had told a story before, you're going to hear it again. When I was younger, my niece, well, I wasn't supposed to say that. That was a person. That was a person, so scratch that. So when the attorney turns around and tells the judge, scratch that. We want to, remove that, strike that from the record. So y'all did it? Scratch that from the record. Had a problem. A young child can't sleep at night. Mama can't put her down, clinging, screaming in her sleep. No doctor could help her, except Dr. Juanita Dunn, who understood this. Understand now. We were doing workshops at that time, and we had people, friends that we met along the way to come in and talk to our group from time to time. And there was a psychic called Tilly, who lived out in Orange County, someplace, who came and talked to our group and about, we were teaching them how to be open to the now. That is now. And she, after her sessions with us, talking to the group, she went into their office, into the other room, to allow people to come and have a one-on-one with her. And she practiced what is in 1926 edition of the Science of Mind textbook, where Ernest Holmes, not in your modern book, your revised edition, about the understanding of automatic writing. And so she would, each person who would leave her session, another one would come in, when they come out, their faces, they just spell out. Because what has been revealed to them, what she had told us, and what she would do is that she would listen, and you ask your question, and her hand would just go like this. And then when you leave, you might have a stack this full, this high of her writing. Then you go and read it, and you'd be amazed about your past. Things that will come through. Her situation, I ask about my niece. This person. You strike that record? Yeah. Okay, we have to edit. I'm going to edit the CD before I send mine out. And what she said is that when she was a soldier in the Vietnam War. And in this battle, this soldier was left behind. Injured, but not yet dead. And this soldier was covered by reptiles, bugs. Do you hear what I'm saying? Yeah. And when she made a connection to this child's life, then what happened was that this lawyer, called Juanita Dunn, took the case. Knowing now how to direct this prayer of release from the past. And that child, after a short while, from that point to now, has never re-experienced any of that stuff. Because she was able to change her mental atmosphere. Change your mind, change your life. Do you hear what I'm saying? Yeah. So now that I've told that story, what I want you to do is pause and think about maybe the reason you can't find the answer is because the answer is in the was. And so how do you deal with it? How do I know? You don't need to know. All you need to know is that it will be revealed to you. When spirit, because there is no past, right? So there could be people in the past that you have unfinished business with. They will come to you. You know what you've done. Omission or commission. Come out of denial. What you simply do is free yourself. I freely and forgive myself of anything and everything. That's it. You don't need to know specifically. Anything and everything and all things. And I press on towards the mark of a high calling in Christ Jesus. Am I right? Amen. If you're feeling out of sorts, just ask God to help you. God knows. Now, you know somebody who knows what it is? Its name is God. Amen. So you ask for help. I don't know what it is. All I know that it is something. So I free myself. And then if anybody's mind, anybody that you know, I freely and fully release you and let you go to your highest good. That's it. It's as simple as that. I'm going to move on with not reading all the rest of that, like Trump. You know, just throw it away. Yeah. So then, I'll just close with this. If the answer hasn't broken through, if you're not attracting whatever it is that you've been working on, you just know that there's something in the mental atmosphere. It's something that you're exuding, irradiating, or not. So I'll give you a couple of examples. In the area of demonstrating good, the material things in life, you know, a lot of people need more money. A lot of people need better housing. A lot of people need better transportation. A lot of people need that for other people who are just sucking on them and sucking on them and sucking on them. You know, your cousins. The point is that there's something that's blocking it. They don't have the consciousness of generosity. See, the consciousness and the lack of the conscious, or not having the consciousness of generosity is a mental atmosphere. And you experience it in life in the forms of lack and limitation and not having enough. Am I right? And so then what do you have to do? This is just one example. Then you have to get into the spirit of giving. And so the people who are always coming to you don't give. And if you're not expressing what you want to on the level of life, it's because look at your giving, and then what happens is that you got to change your little. So what I'm saying about magic is that you still want those things, but you're not doing things that makes a change in your consciousness of generosity. Right. Look at me. Look at me. I have no needs. I have no wants. I have no incomplete, unfulfilled in that area, in that level of life. Because I'm on all levels, I'm just using one example. Why? Because I have a consciousness of generosity. I'm not out there looking to receive and looking for stuff. Stuff shows up and I just pick it off the tree. It's just there. Before I am aware of the need, it's already provided. But I do something first. I talk about demonstrations and I talk about this, but what people don't understand that it's as a result of something. It's a result of something that I've done first. We don't want to do that. Now we'll be taking an offering in a minute. Let's take it. Some of you have already prepared your offering. $5. $10. That's all I can give. That's all you're going to get back. It's the law of attraction. I sent an email to Dr. Clara. You're going to give me a check today. Now the check that you're going to give me, I'm going to put a check in an offering equal to that amount. See, that's a consciousness of generosity. Now, do I need the money? Yeah. But I don't want to stop my blessing of $2,000 coming back. Do you hear what I'm saying? I perform weddings from time to time. I get the check and I give it to my niece to deposit into her college fund. Do I need the money? Yeah. But that's my ego. My spirit says no. You know, so that's a seed that I'm planting because I'm working on my mental atmosphere of generosity, having more than enough, never in need, never in lack, never wanting. And every time I'm doing things like this, I'm depositing into the treasury. Do you hear what I'm saying? I can stand here and give you many examples. I'll give you this last one, then I'll close. I'm doing workshops over here on Tuesdays at LA 3rd, for example. Now, what I have here, I have a studio that you can't pay for. I have a sanctuary that's nicely appointed. Everything is modern. We do food at the first month on a Tuesday. I have a dining room and a kitchen that's well appointed. Beautiful. I have a parking lot for the people. I have what else do I have? I have a technician, videographer, do my audio, do all of that stuff. Yeah. I have a pianist who showed up. I didn't ask her to come. She just showed up. She's a music therapist, which means she's a professional. I have what else I have? Everything that's given. And then, so at the end of the month, I try to give a check to the church for the use of the facility. Listen to me now, talking about mental atmosphere. It works each person can demonstrate this and more. I get a call from the minister of the church, Reverend Lisa. How you doing, baby? Just checking on you. Let me tell you something. I heard that you was writing a check to the church for having those meetings there. I want you to stop it. You don't need to do this. Do you know who you are? Do you know what you have done for this church? Don't you do that. If I got a church, you got a church. If I'm there, you're there. That's mental act, but that's happened to me all my life. And especially in my spiritual life, practicing what I'm preaching here. Now what I give the church is more than what I was giving before, because I'm not paying, I'm giving. So now I give more than the check that I was giving them for being there. Do you hear what I'm saying? So mental atmospheres on that level, when you're doing something, what happens is this. If it's health, if it's material things, if it's relationship, if it's on any level, because it's all levels, make a change in that level. Make a change on whatever that is, and then the law of attraction, personal attraction, sets in. It works for anybody and everybody alike, and so it is.